glad to see you guys here this morning, Thursday morning. I always say you could be a lot of places and I could be taking my nap. You know that. So I am so happy to see you guys this morning. We'll start off as usual. And also reminder, please make sure that when you give your intro, that you tell us where you are speaking from and also give us a good lead for you. I recognize that we may not be specifically as an organization that is a lead generation organization, because we do focus on education and learning, but you never know where a lead comes from. So if you would, please, I'm going to start, and Rhoda's walked away. So I'm going to start at the bottom this time. Alex Gray, if you would, please, give us your intro.
Yes, Alex Gray. I still own a company called Plan Interactive, which I'm winding down currently. Still have some people to get off the platform and then spend the rest of the time making investments in the thinly traded equity markets.
Outstanding. Alex, at one time, you got to explain us thinly traded equity markets, right? We'll do that when you do your presentation, so we know.
I can do that, and I can explain to you why the SEC is taking my market away from me too.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll put time on that. Mike Ryan, if you would, please.
Mike Ryan, partner, Leader Pro Horticulture Services here in Indianapolis. Start downtown and go up Meridian Street up in a little bit up into Carmel.
No problem.
Member of CBN since early 90s.
Yeah, you and I are ancient, buddy. We're ancient, so it's no big deal. Tisha Ennis, please.
Yes, morning. I'm Tisha Ennis. I actually am calling in from Houston, Texas, and I am an owner of two companies. One is Carlos Consulting and Services, Inc. It's a research and development company to be a leader in formulation and physical packaging solutions. And also I'm an owner of Signature Scents by Carlos, my new business venture, where I custom design perfumes and colognes for people.
Thank you very much. Gloria, if you would, please.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Gloria Thomas. I'm calling in from Columbus, Ohio. My company is Secret. Minerals are life, and we have minerals from the Dead Sea. We help you look and feel your best from head to toe, inside out, outside in, with skincare and nutrition for everybody. Again, Gloria Thomas with Secret.
Thank you very much. Tony Havocks, if you would, please.
Yeah, I know you have to say it to head.
I did not say that.
You were going to say it anyway. Tony Havocks with PH2. We do environmental health and safety consulting and forensic engineering, trying to manage people's risks so they go to sleep at night.
Thank you. Thank you very much. John Vandersall, Between Bites.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning.
I tried to time it.
It's a breakfast group, right? And coffee club.
No, we don't really mean that.
John Vandersall, real estate agent, FC Tucker Company. I office out of Keystone of the Crossing, service Marion and surrounding counties, and I work with buyers, sellers, and investors. And if you'll forgive me, I have to sign off just before 9. Our local board of realtors is having a state of real estate Zoom at 9 o'clock, and our CEO is presenting, so I need to have my ears and eyes on that. But have a good day and a good meeting.
I'll forgive you, John.
Thanks, Jeri. I'm sure your presentation was great.
See there? Mike Chambers, if you would, please.
Good morning, all. I'm Mike Chambers, longtime CBN member here in Indianapolis. I recently retired as an independent insurance agent from Central Insurance Associates. Even though I am retired, I still maintain a relationship with my prior partners. So anybody that has an insurance need, if you let me know, I'll be glad to refer you to one of my colleagues. And that's it for now. Happy to be here.
Not a problem. Jim Shepard.
Good morning. I am on the northeast side of Indianapolis still. Another week or so, 2 weeks anyway, plan to head south where it will be warmer and maybe not a white snow covering like it is this morning, but longtime CBN member, retired from the graphic arts business after spending 40 years in that area. So good to be here on a regular basis now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Rhoda, if you would, please.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry for leaving. Adele could not get in, so I had to email her the link. Rhoda Israelov in Indianapolis. I think Jim and I were the elders here from the original CBN with Art Robinson, even before Mike, right? Even before Mike Chambers. So happy to see our guests here and from Ohio and places all over that I've invited. So I am Say It For You, and we write what you read when you go on our clients' websites.
Thank you, Rhoda. If you would, please, Mary Ann Yates. Yeah, I caught you,
With
Mary.
an introduction like that, how could I not? You know, really. Adele, your hair looks darling. You've done something different and it looks very cute.
Thank you.
Since we can't have pre-meeting meetings, which is what I really prefer. Anyway, I own Elder Moves or EM Transition Services, and we help people transition from their homes. We do decorating, and we do complete setup at their new location. Just want a quick apology because of the snow, which Jim mentioned. I will have to bail here at about in about 10 minutes. I have to clear the driveway and get some cars moved around for the women who work for me. Okay.
Not a problem, Mary Ann. You and John can just wave as you fade away together there. If you would, please, Adele.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Rhoda, thank you so much for sending me the link. I don't know what happened to it. I had it. It disappeared from my email. I'm Adele Bush, coming to you live from Columbus, Ohio. I own and operate ASB Business Services, LLC. We do personalized, customized, and exclusive executive telephone outreach. We also do business research and prospect development. And we love what our services do for our customers because our services put our clients in touch with the right contacts in the right companies in the right way before we make the call. So the chances of you getting to the decision maker using our services and with our assistance and guidance it's much better than just making random calls. So this is what we're passionate about. This is what we do to help our customers grow their business and have the competitive edge. Adele Bush, ASB Business Services, LLC. Good morning, Jeri.
Hi, Adele. Your hair does look great, Adele.
Okay.
I said your hair does look great.
Oh, thank you. I straightened it. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, okay. So, you know, this is why I got to get up on Thursday mornings. I'm not real. I don't know. Are we running a group or fashion show or, you know, and I get that. You got to look good. You got to look good. So I'm going to let that go. Zach, I don't know how you can follow this. You came in late. Don't worry. Everybody's okay. If you would do your introduction, I'd appreciate it, please.
All right. Yeah. Zach Fox with Edward Jones Investments, just outside of Indianapolis, Indiana, and helping people confidently plan and execute retirement.
Thank you so much. Hey, just a couple of quick notes. We got 14 people on, so if you do not mind, if you would all mute, except for Jeri LUCCO. She will be our speaker this morning. Jeri's got an interesting story to tell. She was referred by Adele. And the second thing is we have speakers booked up through March. I am looking for speakers starting in April. We will take one day in April for an admin day. So I need at least 3 speakers for April. You guys are doing a fantastic job on this speaker thing. As usual, Rhoda and Adele are leading the pack here. I think Rhoda has not met a person that she does not like or does not invite. So we're gonna stick with that as long as it keeps working here. That being said, I would like to make this the Jeri LUCCO show this morning. Jeri, it's on you now.
Thank you. I did get an email from my National Today account this morning that said today is National Jeri LUCCO Day because it's my birthday today. So
well, we'll have to hum happy birthday. I don't sing, so we'll have to hum happy birthday before we leave here.
I'll give you the mailing address so you can all send presents, cards, cake, whatever. I'm gonna share my screen, so give me a second. Oh, all righty. It's interesting to hear all the silence at the other end. It's almost like I'm not used to that. I really appreciate everyone showing up today. And this, you know what? I've been doing this for about almost 3.5 years, and this is the first time I've actually had to present anything about it. So it was kind of interesting putting together information. And thank you, Adele, for inviting me to this group. I really enjoy this meeting. I always feel like I learned something. And, just thank you guys for letting me present. So the title of my presentation was, should I do it? How using a franchise business search advisor can help you navigate through the good, the bad, the ugly of franchise business choices. I decided that, a lot of this, what I'm going to show you today is actually like let's call it the underpinnings of what franchising is, so we can level set about, just kind of like the scope of what's going on in the franchise industry today, which then helps you understand a little bit about where I come into play and how I can help people through that process. I'm going to start though with, hold on one second. Let me make sure that things are here we go. This is a little bit about me. So that little red dot is where I'm from, and Adele is from just north of that little red dot. This building here on the left-hand side is where I went to school from kindergarten through 12th grade. I think I had a graduating class of like 29, maybe 28, and stuck pretty close to home. I went to St. Bonaventure University, home of Bob Lanier. So he's our claim to fame. And there's some other people that went pro, but Bob Lanier is the name that everybody knows. Absolutely gorgeous part of the country, lots of rolling hills, lots of trees, parks, lakes, and stuff like that. But a pretty darn rural setting. And then I went for something completely different. St. Bonaventure had and has an amazing accounting program. My bachelor was in accounting, so I was able to get. I was able to get an internship and then a job with, at the time, Deloitte Haskins and Sells in Manhattan. So I picked up and went from like 400 people in a town to Manhattan, and absolutely loved it. But did public accounting thing, even at an early age in my early 20s, had issues with, shall I say, conformity. And they were having conversations like, you need to be more, what did they call it, conservative and things like that. And this is when I was going through a stage of having platinum blonde hair. So I decided to leave public accounting and did my own thing. I had Jeri's accounting and bookkeeping service. I had enough business to pay the bills. I had several friends that were minor celebrities in the area. So I did a lot of socializing for a few years, got bored with that, really wanted to kind of get back with people that were, I don't know, that I could talk business with, or that had accounting degrees, or that knew what the heck I was talking about when I said the word accounting. So I went to work with Dun & Bradstreet in their internal audit department. D&B was just, it provided me with so much opportunity. I wanted to go to work with someone where I could travel and work at the same time. So, with D&B, I got to go to Spain. I spent a month in Holland, loved it, just loved it. Decided I wanted to move to the UK, and I was in the right place at the right time. Moved to the UK with D&B, spent some time in London, and then I moved over into Oxfordshire. And this little picture here is absolutely the pub where I spent probably 5 out of 7 nights a week for several years. Had the opportunity to move to Germany, and then moved back to the States with D&B and landed just outside of Orlando, worked in Tampa, went to work for a small marketing company, got relocated to Dallas, had a boss in Dallas that ended up coming to Alliance Data Systems here in Columbus. And he transferred me up. He basically recruited me away. I was, as you can tell, probably pretty location agnostic by that point in time. I always remember when I got a call from the HR person with Alliance Data Systems saying, how do you feel about moving to Columbus? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, it's closer to home. I was in Dallas. And they were shocked that I was okay with moving to Columbus, Ohio. I was like, you're not really kind of selling the location to me. But I've been here 21 years now. Worked for ADS for about 7 years, went to work with Axiom, which is a global marketing services company, was in sales, a little bit of operations. Over here in the corner, you can see I've got, lost my mouse. This little thing, Carbon Zero Lawn Care and Dream Vacations. Carbon Zero Lawn Care and Dream Vacations, my experiences there are really what shaped and helped me decide that I ended up wanting to be a franchise consultant, franchise business search advisor. And I'll talk a little bit about those experiences as we go along. Left Axiom in about 2017, wasn't 100% sure what I was going to do. Ended up talking to a franchise consultant who during the process said, have you thought about being a franchise consultant? I thought, that sounds like fun. So here I am. Let's talk a little bit about what franchises are. Doing some level setting. So what we're going to be talking about today, and if you go and look at Webster's dictionary, there's 4 or 5 different definitions of what a franchise is. But what we're going to talk about today is what they call a business format franchise. So it's where you are licensing the logo, the intellectual property, the operations playbook, marketing materials, everything that business format franchise has gone through to be a successful business. It's not where you have franchise quarterbacks. And yes, that's Jim Kelly and Josh Allen from the Buffalo Bills, little tier. And it's not like a Pepsi or a Harry Potter or a Twilight, something like that franchise. So everything we're going to talk about for the rest is this business format franchise. I'm licensing the box that helps me grow my own business. Franchising has been around for a really long time. You can see that first bullet is that it was around, since kind of like pre-1800, the Middle Ages. And, started out really where product franchising was what started the whole process. Drinks, cars, sewing machines. This is when Singer, kind of really took off. The early 1900s is when you started to see brands that are still around today start to franchise their business as a means of expansion. Arthur Murray Dance Studios, Baskin Robbins, McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken. By 1948, Dairy Queen had 2,500 units. That kind of blows my mind, to be honest with you, and they're still there. 1950, you had 100 companies that were doing franchising. 1960, it had started to really grow. 200,000 outlets from 900 different companies were franchising. By the end of the 60s, you had McDonald's, Holiday Inn, KFC, they all hit 100,000 plus units. And in that 10-year span, you had 100,000 new outlets that were franchises. The 70s and the early 80s, there was some pullback on franchising, but then around 85, 86, it started to grow again. In the 3-year span, 86 to 88, 75,000 new outlets. And it accounted for over 34% of the retail sales for all the, franchise businesses accounted for 34% of all retail sales. By 88, you had 416,000 units. It accounted for 7 million workers. It accounted for sales of 543 billion. In 88 alone, there were 27,000 plus new franchise units. That equated to 1 new unit every 20 minutes. So growth was exploding. Popping up to 2001, by that time, there were close to 700, over 750,000 units, 9 million jobs, close to $230 billion in payroll, 624 billion in output. So, sure, a minor part of the GDP, but really a big contributor to the overall, employment that's going on in the US. What happened in 2020 and 2021, you might ask? 2020, I can remember going to, I work with an affiliate network, and we were having a big meeting in January, and everything was rosy. Honestly, we really hadn't heard too much at all about COVID-19. We, we're like, okay, we're expecting this to be a huge year. And you can see here in the, on the chart at the left, in February is now a good time to start a business. 76% of the people that were doing some sort of Google searching on franchises were like, I think now's a great time to be starting a business. The bottom kind of fell out in March as things started to get a little bit ugly and businesses started to shut down. But, it started popping back up during the summer as things started to release and everything. Then there was some more contraction. But even in December, 60% of the people that were doing some sort of searching were like, I think now's a great time. So it's held pretty steady. And then if you look at the chart on the right, startup intentions about this month being, a good month, between February, what do we have? 47% of the people surveyed said, I'm planning on moving between the next 3 months, this month to the next 3 months. By December, we were looking at about 53%, somewhere around 52% that were like, I am planning on moving forward in terms of starting my own business. And then let's look at the top reasons why. And this is held steady. This particular survey company, they have 5 or 6 different portals that advertise brands. And so periodically, if someone's on the site, they're doing surveys. And they started this process about 15, 16 months ago. They do monthly reports now. I get this information pretty much on a monthly basis. But every single month since they've started doing this work, be my own boss, having control of my own destiny has been the number one reason why people want to start a franchise. They don't want that, that boss. And I know for myself, that's why I wanted to start my own business, is like, I didn't want that person looking over my shoulder anymore. By the way, these numbers don't add up to 100 because they were all able to pick, multiple choice. Talk about choice. This is a sample, and I do mean a sample of the brands that are available to franchise. I actually represent probably about 325 different businesses across 21 different industries. There are somewhere in the vicinity of 6,000 to 7,500 different franchise brands across the world, probably about 5,500 to 6,000 in the US alone, and worldwide about 7,500 different brands. But this is a sample of the brands that I represent. Some of them I have left our inventory and I've picked up others. But besides the choice of basically the widget that's being sold, the other aspects that need to be considered when you're buying a franchise is how you want to be involved in the franchise and what the franchise requires from you. Some franchises say you have to be the feet on the ground, the owner operator. We want you here in the office every single day, or the home-based office or whatever. Some of them are happy with semi-absentee. And some of them are like, yeah, you can pick what you want and you just need to make sure you have the right employees in place to manage the business on your own, right? You have to think about the employee types. Do I want skilled labor, unskilled, white collar, blue collar? How many employees do I want? And I've got, frankly, early last year, I think it was, I was looking at a cleaning franchise because I love the brand. And I thought, and it makes really good money. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to put myself into discovery to look at this. The first meeting, he's like, Jeri, this is really a staffing model. Forget about the fact that you're selling residential cleaning. It's a staffing model. I don't like having employees. So I knew right then and there that that was not the franchise for me. And I so appreciated the fact that this franchise was letting me know up front that you've got to like having people underneath that you're managing on a day-to-day basis. Thank you very much. And I'll find someone else that fits that mold much better than me. And then the last thing, other than, money and all those kinds of things, but you also need to think about what you want for the business hours. I've got clients right now that are in real estate. They've been doing real estate for 20 plus years. They came to me and they said, you know what, we kind of would like our weekends back. So the businesses, and they also said they don't really want to have to deal with consumers. So the businesses that I'm looking at are B2B businesses and things where it's regular work hours. So at 5 o'clock on a Friday, they can lock the doors and maybe they do some work from home, but they don't have to deal with their customer set until, 9 o'clock on Monday morning. So, things that you need to consider running a business that you probably don't even think about if you're starting it up on your own, but you need to have those kinds of thought processes when you're looking at a franchise. Some of the myths about franchising, and you know what? I think I experienced all of these when I was actually starting to look at franchises. You can choose between food or maybe retail. With 7,500 different franchises, there is a heck of a lot more. You can see from the slide we just went over, there's a heck of a lot more than food. Senior care, I probably represent 35 to 40 different in-home senior care franchises. I have like 30 different food franchises, 10 different pet care of all shapes and sizes types of franchises. So there are so many other things than food, but I will tell you that probably 80% of the people that come into me say, I want a Chick-fil-A. Doesn't everybody want a Chick-fil-A? Kind of moving them off the food truck, so to speak, is, generally job number one. A lot of people want, hey, you've got to have something that has a name already. I wish I could count the people that come in and say, I want something that's already on every street corner. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but if it's already on every street corner, the availability of it to you the chances are really minimal that you're going to be able to find a good location that isn't already taken by the one that's already on every street corner. Franchising is too expensive. You know, when you look at, I had this week, I have a client, KK, he said the investment seems pretty high. And I'm like, you know what? When you're looking at the big number, which is the only number that I can provide, you know, when you're looking at that investment number, yeah, it seems like it's expensive. But when you get a chance to actually go into discovery with a brand and you see the line items of what is going into that investment, it becomes really apparent that, you know, frankly, you're going to pay that money to open that business, whether you do it on your own or whether you do it as a franchise. Yeah, you have the franchise fee, but as I'll talk a little bit about in the next slide, you're getting so much value for that franchise fee that really franchising is, in the long run, probably cheaper than trying to go it on your own, particularly if you're in an industry that you don't know too much about, which is actually one of the other, you know, folklore number 4. I need previous experience in this industry, or I've got to have experience running a business. One of the absolute beauties of running a franchise is that you can get involved in something that you have zero experience about. I've got a client in Dallas, Texas, who he runs a really successful plumbing business. He wants something that has a little bit more friendly stuff. I showed him a dog training franchise. He's like, I never thought I'd like it, but I love it, you know? So being able to kind of move around and sell the widget that you want to sell is actually one of the biggest benefits of being involved in a franchise. And the last one, and I get a little, you know, shirty about this one sometimes, is they take your money. They don't care how you succeed. Franchises are sometimes more invested in your success than you are. The franchise fee, for the most part, is a revenue generator, not a profit generator, because they're paying for a lot of infrastructure to support you for the franchise fee. They're only successful from the royalties, and they don't get those royalties if you aren't successful. If you shut your doors, they don't get paid. I have been so impressed with the franchises that I represent during 2020, particularly the things that they did to help their franchises. I had one franchise that literally got on the phone with every single one of their franchisees and the franchisees' landlord and their lenders, and helped those franchisees negotiate forbearance, deferments, rental rebates, things to help them keep their doors open. That, to me, is the sign that they are really in it to help you. And helping you helps them, absolutely, but they're in it to help you. Some of the other benefits of a franchise, training. The training you get from a franchise is, you know, unbelievable, really. I owned that travel franchise. We had probably 8 to 10 webinars a week, product webinars, business development webinars. How do I do marketing? You know, there's a new release of our CRM software. Let's show you how to do it. There's, you know, they show you how to hire. They show you they train you on vendor recruiting and vendor management, if that's applicable to you. They have daily, weekly webinars, right? They have annual conferences. They do some of them, and I've seen this really take off more over the last year. They're starting to really assign mentors and coaches. They have determined that by having someone, you know, provide that oversight to you for the first 6 to 12 months of owning the franchise, ups that level, the chances for your success. So, you know, these are the benefits of, you know, kind of understanding the brand. you get an immediate support tribe. Yeah, you get the headquarters, you get IT, marketing, operations, things like that. But you also get the franchisees. Because many franchises are territory specific, you don't have the competition. And the ones that aren't territory specific, use my travel franchise again, you know, we're virtual. You're starting with your own circle of influence, then you're going to radiate out from there. So rarely do you run into each other. And, you know, if you happen to know the same person, two franchisees happen to know the same person, there's enough to go around. I've seen franchisee colleagues that won't answer the questions, but I've never seen them be competitive about it. Some of them just are like, you know what, figure it out yourself. I had to. You get access to suppliers and the economies of scale. I think about my hometown of Limestone, really small town. We've had a convenience store that can't stay in business because the cost of their products are so expensive. I have a convenience store franchise that I would love to get into that town because they've got supplier relationships that they could actually deliver product for the same price as the convenience store in the next town over, a big chain convenience store the next town over. So you get a lot of benefits on the costs and things like that. They help you with real estate, both location and negotiation. They have financing partners. Some of them actually have guarantees of the fundings, the ones that have like equipment and things like that. Often part of their benefits are that they will have guarantees of the loan of the equipment, because I guess they figure if you do end up going out of business, they can always use the equipment for another franchisee. I'm not 100% sure. They do technology investment. I've got a dry cleaner brand that's probably spent about $200,000 on an app and the continued support and everything of that app. If you're a mom and pop dry cleaner business, there is no way you'd have that app. And that app is actually developed to help them do contactless drop off and pickup 24-hour, where they have little lockers like Amazon. You drop it off, you pick it up, you use the app. Here's what it is. Here's how much it costs. Here's how you pay. Non-franchises are not going to be able to make that kind of investment. And then, of course, you have the success and failure rate, which is generally franchises, because they have that operational model underpinning it, and they have like the process to be successful, tend to have a lower failure rate than individual startups. So what's the benefit of using me after all of that? You've got all of these choices, all of these things you need to be aware of. So how do I come into play? People that work with me, candidates come in, they don't know what they don't know. Sometimes they come in and they say, I want McDonald's. Okay, well, do you have $1.5 million in your pocket? And are you willing to go where McDonald's tells you you're going to go? How about we talk about, what it is you really want, what you can afford. Let's flip the search, right? Instead of coming in and looking for a particular franchise, let's talk about what's important to you, how you want to spend your days, the type of functions that you like to do. Don't worry too much about the widget. We can get to that. And yeah, you need to be passionate about it, but lots of times it's more about the functional aspects of the business that I'm coaching them through and getting them to think about. I had a candidate last year as we were going through this process, and she said, I really learned something about myself going through this. She was like, I don't want people that are unskilled. I want people that are like, professional white collar people. And it really drove the type of franchise that we were helping her look for. I also have access to funding partners. I have 3 or 4 different people that different funding partners that I work with on a regular basis that I can refer them to help them get their SBA loans and counsel them on what they need to have ready to be able to get funding. I act as a liaison with the franchisor. I have multiple conversations during the process about, what are the questions that I'm hearing from my candidates? How do we help them make sure that those questions are getting answered? So I spend a lot of time talking to the potential franchisee, making sure they're asking the right questions, and talking to the franchisor, making sure that they're paying attention to what the questions are and answering those questions. And then I also have experience with the franchises. Some of them, frankly, some of them are harder to ramp up than others. And it's my knowledge of the franchises and what's important to the candidate that helps me kind of steer them away from something where, frankly, I know they're just not going to end up being happy doing that kind of business. And then the last thing is the benefit of actually using me. I've been through it. I've experienced the downside of not using an expert. When I did Carbon Zero Lawn Care with my husband, we actually looked at a franchise that was a similar concept to what we developed on our own. And there were reasons we didn't end up wanting to go with that franchise and thought, oh, well, we can just do this ourselves. We've spent thousands more dollars than we probably would have with the brand had we gone with that brand, because there were aspects of the technology that we just couldn't understand and couldn't find people that could help us understand. So they had an expertise that we really didn't pay enough attention to. Same thing, let's talk about the travel franchise. I love to travel. I love the travel franchise. I don't love the travel franchise for me. There are aspects of that business that do not fit my personality. As much as I love travel and as much as I love that franchise, it was pretty quick for me to realize that, it was never going to be something that I was able to put my heart and soul into, because I didn't have a me to help me understand what was going to end up being important down the line. Questions? Any questions? Maybe.
Maybe. Hey, first off, I gotta say something here. Tisha last week and Jeri this week, you guys are gonna force me to up my presentation game. Okay, I'm just gonna be honest. These presentations are the quality is getting up there. This was fantastic. You said this was the first time you prepped for a group. Okay, let me just be honest. I've sit through a lot of presentations. I know a good one when I see one. I saw one last week. I saw one this week. Wow. I don't know how you're going to do your recruiting for people that you're going to go out and do your presentations to, but from a professional side and professional presentation, just great. Hey, couple of quick questions, then I'll throw it to the floor here. That number 5, Jeri, you're on the side of getting people to buy into franchises. My son and I buy businesses, and that number 5, we run into that all the time. You're going to take our money and you're not going to do anything for us. Give us just a minute on that, on why you think people feel that way.
I think they see that big franchise fee, right? Franchise fees can run. I've got some where the franchise fee is maybe $15,000, $20,000, right? But a lot of franchises charge maybe like $40,000 to $50,000 for the franchise fee, and they aren't thinking through. They don't see what they're getting for it, right? They're like, oh, well, it goes back to I could do this. Well, could you really? And frankly, you know, unfortunately, like any industry, there are bad players out there, right? There are franchises. We tend not to represent them. I can't think of any that I represent that I would say this is true of. But there are players out there where, you know, they'll sell a franchise to anybody. They don't go through the vetting process. Franchises award franchises. They do not they don't sell you a franchise. I've got some franchises that they probably reject 30 to 40% of the candidates that come through. That's after I've vetted them, right? Once they start going through the discovery process. I think that they just think, you know, hey, there are definitely some of the lower priced franchises, you know, they're probably less picky, like the travel franchise. Honestly, it's a really low investment. They're probably not as diligent about making sure that they're getting someone who can really sell the travel as maybe someone who's paying, you know, $50,000, $60,000. I think that's where it comes from.
Okay. Somebody somebody else give me a question. Adele?
Jeri, how would a small business owner like myself and everyone else on the call today and thousands of others out there, how would we go about franchising our businesses if we wanted to?
Sure. I actually, I have several colleagues that specialize in franchising their business. Franchise development is the term we give it. There are firms that specialize in that, and it starts with a conversation. It's not a cheap process, but frankly, some of the development companies. I've got a development company that I have heard them quote like $40,000. But for that $40,000, they're helping you do your franchise disclosure document, the franchise contract itself. They help you with they will actually develop the operations manual. They help you with a sales strategy. There's so much value there. But there's companies that specialize in that. I will tell you that the one of the primary things they look for, they're okay if you don't have an operations manual. They want to see a history of profitability.
Do they work off the potential? They say, well, you know, you've got a great idea, you've made a little bit of money, but you're not quite where we want you to be, but you have great potential. Do they think like that?
Yeah, they do sometimes. I was on a call with a potential franchisor, and the conversation was about, you know, this is a burgeoning market and your concept sounds great, right? And I've had a franchise come into my inventory recently that they had one corporate location, and it hadn't been open too long, but you know, they went ahead and turned it into a franchise.
Thanks.
Anybody else got questions? Tisha.
Jeri, I was wondering how difficult or easy or how long does it take to like match people together?
Oh, you know what? One of my strengths is kind of like intuitive connecting. So lots of times I might have a good idea in my head of the ones that I represent. You know, I might be thinking, oh, I think this might work, you know. Probably about 60% of the time, I might think about the brand that I think is a fit, like in the first conversation I'm having with the person. I had a guy, it took me 5 months to find him something. He was pretty specific. He was like, I don't want to do sales, which boggled my mind for a little bit. I was like, how the heck do I find something for someone who doesn't want to do sales? And honest to gosh, sometimes this business is being in the right place at the right time. I was in a business development seminar. This brand was doing a presentation and they were like, we work really well with technical project manager types, which my guy happened to be. And we require that they have an outside salesperson within 90 days. I was like, Shazam. And I called him, I was like, okay, we have to meet. And that's the one he bought. As soon as he heard of it, he's like, I think that sounds really interesting. That's the one he's bought, and he's happy as a clam. Normally, to get them introduced to a brand, it's within a couple of weeks I can do that, but it can take them several months to go through the discovery process. And frankly, sometimes they go into hiding for a while and then they come back later.
Any other questions?
Do we have Jeri's contact information?
Yes, I'll be providing that. But Jeri, if you could just put it, type it in the chat, I'd appreciate that also.
Yeah.
But I'll also be providing that in both the video and an outgoing email so that you guys can get those things. This has been a really, really interesting presentation. It looked good. It sounded good. I'm at the wrong end of franchising because I'm running away. I'm consulting. I'm not doing that. But I think the point of what CBN is about is being more and more exemplified here. I'm way smarter about if I was interested in franchising. I know one person that I would give a call and we would chat and talk about. Myself and Tisha had a private conversation. Tisha, I told you about timing, right? You heard what Jeri said. Sometimes timing is better than luck, right? Sometimes timing is better than luck. So, that's just part of the process here. We will have a conversation at some point. I would like to do, Jeri has done the front end of a business. How are you going to buy it? At some point in maybe a couple of few months, I'm in the middle of a deal now. I want to talk about how you sell businesses and what you should not do when you know that you have a buyer. There's just some things that, I'm way smarter now than when me and Jim did a deal. But there are just some things that when you come to the point where you will be thinking about selling your business, now that I'm on the buying end of them and with my son and we're looking at businesses, there's just some things you shouldn't do. So this was really, really interesting to hear Jeri talking about what you should do when you're buying them. I mean, when you're going into them and looking at them, but on the back end, sooner or later, you may want to sell your business. And when you do, there's some things I think you ought to think about. With that, it is 9:27. Boy, I like to keep you guys on time. Hey, we had about 15 people on this chat, this event this morning. Some of them had to leave. Appreciate all you guys showing up. We have a speaker next week. Our speaker next week, I took my notes, Jeff Hire Jones of Spark Evolve. And so he will be our speaker next week, and we will be following up with that. Please, please, please check your calendar. I do need speakers in April. So if you've got one, and I always say over and over again, at least one because you got one customer.
Yeah,
I
got
talk.
one.
If you can't talk one of your customers into coming in and tell them how great you are, you need to think that through, right? So I do need speakers in April. We will have one admin day in April. Normally we go through like, where are we at? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? Et cetera, et cetera. We don't do politics, but we sometimes elbow each other just for the fun of it. But we will have an admin day in April. That being said, it's 9:29. Thank you guys so much. I will see you. We're signing off. Thank you so much, Jeri. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.